Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
You may notice some changes the next time you go to a state-run PCR testing clinic, with a new trial now underway. Those receiving a test can now choose to swab themselves and have it compared to one taken by a professional to see if the samples match. But some in the health system say the change has been sprung on them.
It could be the way of the future, with a PCR trial now asking the public to roll up their own sleeves. The new self-collection test, rolled out at state-run clinics, is investigating whether samples collected by patients can detect respiratory viruses as effectively as those run by healthcare workers. It's a move which has caught the health sector off guard.
I heard it's happening today, yeah.
We received it in a tranche of information just about COVID in general. We weren't directly consulted about it, and yesterday was the first we'd heard of it.
Despite not being kept in the loop, some doctors are welcoming the move.
We know that rat tests are just not as sensitive as PCR tests, so it's somewhere in the order of like 50 to 70% sensitive compared to PCR, which can be up to 90% sensitive.
Public Health says the trial is voluntary and the option is only communicated to individuals at the point of testing. And the initial PCR sample is collected by the healthcare worker and a subsequent sample is collected by the participant. The optional self-collection sample is similar to doing a rapid antigen test. If adopted, this self-service mode of collection could make PCR testing easier and more accessible going forward.
It would reduce the need for staff in public collection centres, and it also probably give us a greater capture of the population as to who actually does have COVID, and in that way minimise risk of transmission.
Provided people can do the test appropriately and they're instructed in the correct way, it should be a time saver and a labour saver.
Leaving some in the sector concerned.
If we're going to be serious about testing for COVID, then we need to do that at the highest standard possible. When it comes to a laboratory test, that test should be administered by a health professional.
Testing rates at state-run clinics are already trending upwards, with 4,600 recorded statewide last week, an 11% increase from the week before. It comes as hospitals continue to grapple with a spike in case numbers. The LGH and Royal Hobart Hospital are currently at COVID escalation level 2. Visitor restrictions came into effect in Hobart yesterday. Whether the LGH will follow suit is still unknown. McKenna Bailey, 7 Tasmania News.
A 4-year-old boy involved in a shed fire in Mowbray yesterday has been airlifted to the Royal Hobart Hospital overnight with serious injuries. Early yesterday afternoon, emergency services were called to Verdon Street following reports of a blaze. Sadly, a 3-year-old boy was found dead at the scene. Investigations into the cause of the incident are still underway, while a report is being prepared for the coroner. TT Line will appeal the decision. It breached animal welfare laws when 16 polo ponies died on board in 2018. The move revealed as the ferry operations were scrutinised in government business enterprise hearings.
It was the decision that stopped the state's racing industry. TT Line directors today asked why they cut livestock transport after being found guilty of breaching animal welfare laws.
It's difficult to answer that because, as you may have read in the media, that it is still before the courts and will be for some time to come.
TT Line is appealing that decision and says a short-term fix will remain in place as long as needed. The new ferries are expected to cost around $800 million. There's potentially $1.5 billion of future maintenance costs.
If businesses pick that up, especially in the northwest north of the state, that could spawn a whole other industry supporting all other vessels in Australia that need to be supported or come to Australia for maintenance.
Sustainable Timber Tasmania also fronted the committee, announcing it's halted logging at one Eastern Tiers site due to swift parrot sightings.
There were some early broad sightings of swift parrots. We're aware of those. We've been monitoring those.
STT employs forest practice officers, allowing them to approve their own logging plans.
Can you see that that's a situation that has great potential for conflict?
The forest practices system, to me, as somebody who's worked all around Australia, is the best in the country. It's worked really well for 35 years and suddenly it's now in question.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor is calling for Racing Minister Madeleine Ogilvie to resign for misleading Parliament. Yesterday in TasRacing estimates, it was revealed former CEO Paul Ericsson's employment was terminated in July. At the time, the minister released a statement saying he was returning to Sydney to spend time with
and she
family.
doubled down in the hearing to continue to say that he'd left for family reasons. It is clearly not true.
The minister's made it very clear there was no misrepresentation. This is Labor Party muckraking.
The minister released a statement saying she did not reflect on the circumstances of Mr Ericsson's departure other than to note he was returning to Sydney. A group of protesters has taken to the streets of Launceston, calling out big banks for funding fossil fuels. Standing outside the Commonwealth Bank on Brisbane Street, 20 members of the Extinction Rebellion group.
CBA are making it right while they continue to support the coal mine.
We're trying to highlight banks' involvement in the fossil fuel problem we've got. We think that they could quite easily stop funding fossil fuels and move that to renewable energy.
3 climate activists, Dr Helen Hutchinson, Pastor Jeff McKinnon and Dr Scott Bell, refused to leave the bank, with police eventually making an arrest. Tasmanians have gathered in Latrobe to commemorate the courage and sacrifice of naval hero Teddy Sheehan. The ceremony marks 80 years since HMAS Armidale sank during World War II.
A solemn song for one of our fallen heroes. Naval honours paying tribute to Victoria Cross recipient and World War II folk hero Teddy Sheehan. In 1942, the 18-year-old strapped himself to his gun on board the Armidale, firing at the enemy and defending his shipmates. Of the 149 men on board, only 49 survived the attack and owed their lives to Sheehan's bravery. His nephew is adamant the harrowing story should never be forgotten.
I think it's important to keep telling our history, because war history, because it's there. It's 100 people killed in one action is a big story, and you've sort of got to keep it going.
Teddy's dedication to his crew is something Vietnam veteran Jeff Garwood understands.
We all mates in the Army, in Navy, and Air Force and everything, and we all stick up for each other, and if there's any recognition there, we fight for it.
Getting that recognition for Teddy has been a decades-long battle.
This is very moving. It's really an opportunity to say thanks to all our veterans for their service and their sacrifice, and to pay a particular tribute to Teddy Sheehan VC.
A selfless soul whose sacrifice won't be forgotten. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A new independent housing body will look for quick wins in the battle to get more Tasmanians off the streets. Homes Tasmania Chair Michelle Adair used the body's launch as a chance to tour a social housing development under construction.
It is not okay for anyone to be homeless or to be under severe rental stress, and yet we know that that's the reality.
The government has promised to deliver 10,000 new homes in the next decade. Cyclist Georgia Baker has been crowned Tasmanian Athlete of the Year. It follows a career best 12 months, standing atop the podium of international stage races and claiming multiple gold medals at the Commonwealth Games.
It was a golden year on the bike for Georgia Baker, now crowned Tasmanian Athlete of the Year for 2022. The cyclist celebrated at an award ceremony held last night at Princess Wharf.
I'm really proud to be Tasmanian, and I love coming from here, so to get this award, it means a lot to me.
Beating the likes of cricketer Matthew Wade and last year's winner, swimmer Ariane Titmus. Georgia's highlights claiming Commonwealth gold in 3 events and bagging bronze at the World Championships time trial.
So it's like the first year that I've combined both road and track, so to see that it's paid off, I'm really happy, and it's really encouraging moving forward to Paris next year and to the Olympics. With
running royalty in the room, an athletic great joined the Tasmanian Sporting Hall of Fame. Tristan Thomas, the 140th member.
When you're running, you're in the moment, and you sort of, these things just happen and you go the next day. But having been out of the sport for 10 years now, it's a dream, to be honest, and I'm really glad to be amongst these great people.
Thomas burst onto the scene as a hurdling hotshot, medalling on the international stage and helping Australia to a memorable World Championships bronze in the 400-metre relay.
I had 3 of my best mates in the world, and I remember sitting in the taxi ride on the way home and just thinking, you know what, anything's possible from here.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
The Australian Antarctic program is putting the call out for 150 new expeditioners to take the next step in their careers. More than 30 roles are on offer, from chefs and station leaders through to carpenters and medical practitioners.
They'll be living and working on one of our research stations in Antarctica or on Macquarie Island, and that could be for a period of 4 to 6 months for our summering expeditioners and around 12 months for those who take up a winter role.
There's pretty much nowhere else that you can work with icebergs in the background and penguins crossing, your work site.
Applicants will undergo an extensive selection process, including technical, medical and psychological assessments to judge whether they're fit for the mission. The state's 15 surf lifesaving clubs are diving back into business with patrol season starting up this weekend. They're using National Water Safety Day to hone in on the ocean's fluctuating and dangerous conditions, with hopes to prevent any more lives from being lost.
The first day of summer may have been shrouded by cloud, but the brisk weather didn't stop these water babies from submerging in the salty depths. Tasmania's surf lifesavers getting a head start on patrol season starting Saturday.
It was awesome just to be able to have a presence and make people feel safer at the beach.
The red and yellow marshals setting up a safe swimming environment with hopes to avoid a repeat of last year.
We had 55 rescues, 1,809 preventive actions of people who got into difficulties in Tasmanian waters, and we still had, unfortunately, tragically, 16 lives lost.
It comes on National Water Safety Day, the patrols pleading swimmers to check the conditions before heading out to sea.
In Tasmania, from a recent survey, we have 40% of males and 32% of females have said that they don't believe they could swim 50 metres continuously without stopping.
Surf Lifesaving Tasmania is reminding people to stay safe this summer by supervising children around the water at all times, wearing a life jacket when required and always swimming between the flags. Officials also encouraging new recruits to dip their toes in the life-saving lifestyle.
It's something that you get really attached to. It's good to see the community engagement that you get as well, and you find a lot of people that do surf go into careers that very much follow that same passion as well in paramedicine and medicine, nursing.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
The Christmas spirit is spreading around Launceston, with City Mission calling on the community to participate in this year's Christmas lunch. The festive spread will be held at a new location, with Door of Hope opening to the public, serving nearly 500 guests on Christmas Day.
We're looking forward to be able to providing some children's activities, and as well as some of the other wonderful things that we provide in regards to just good food and good company and opportunity for people to connect.
City Mission is calling on the community to get involved with the organisation, looking for at least 20 more volunteers to help on the day. We might not know yet if we're about to get our own AFL team, but what we have learnt today is North Melbourne's Guernsey will carry the Spirit of Tasmania logo until 2025. The new 3-year deal was announced by the board during TT Line's GBE scrutiny. It also includes an opt-out if it impacts Tasmania's entry into the competition. The AFL schedule is set to be released early this month.
The former Test captain has made a cameo for the Tasmanian Tigers. 12th man Tim Payne putting on the gloves in today's Sheffield Shield clash against South Australia when Jake Doran was subbed out. Dual centuries to Jake Weatherald and Nathan McSweeney put the heat on Tasmania, but Peter Siddle managed to break through.
Caught out. First slip. Weatherall doesn't get through that tricky patch and he's gone. It was
Siddle finished the day with 4 for 59. The Redbacks are 8 for 309 heading into day 2. More locals are headed to the AFL with 2 of the state's best picked up in the rookie draft. Seth Campbell and Cam Owen paid tribute to Devils junior coach Jeremy Webberley after a NAB League season which put Tasmania back on the map.
Snapped up by the Swans in this year's rookie draft after a standout season.
Obviously it's every kid's dream to hear their name called out when the AFL draft's on, so yeah, it was an amazing feeling, stoked to hear my name.
Big man Cam Owen adding depth to Sydney's ruck stocks in a big year for Tassie talent.
To get 4 blokes drafted is an amazing achievement, and it's just testament to all the work that all the staff and officials put in, and Jeremy especially.
The man himself proud as punch.
It's a great day for Tassie footy yesterday and the day before, so to have 4 taken is a credit to all the team, but essentially it's a credit to the individuals.
While it was sweet relief for Burnie's Seth Campbell, who's heading to Richmond.
Got around to 3 o'clock, probably the longest day in history, but yeah, to see my name called out, it was amazing.
A lifelong Saints fan, Seth is switching allegiances to the yellow and black, much to the joy of his proud Richmond supporting family.
I've got that many photos of him in sports stores buying the Richmond stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if Intersport and that sold out of the Tigers stuff.
The Tigers pounced on the midfielder, giving the talented teen a sneak peek prior to the draft.
I met with them, toured their club, and when I walked in, it just felt so good, and all the Tassie boys, it just felt like home.
For Cam, life in the big league isn't too unfamiliar. His brother is Hobart Hurricane Mitch Owen.
There was a big debate about that last night. I said that I argued that I was well and truly out of the shadow.
Looking destined for a life in the spotlight. Annie Green, 7 Tasmanian News.
And the Socceroos' mighty success in the FIFA World Cup is predicted to see more Tasmanians pulling on their boots next season. Soccer is already the state's most played team sport, with more than 23% of Tasmanians aged 5 to 18 well versed on the field.
We want to make sure we retain as many of those kids as they become youth, and then of course into senior ranks. And we also have a very strong ambition to have 50-50 participation, female and male. And
Football Tasmania says its biggest challenge now is developing the infrastructure to accommodate the growth. The Jack Jumpers family has grown by 1 as Josh Majette welcomes the arrival of his baby boy Hayes. No stranger to dad life, the guard has guaranteed he'll be in Brisbane this weekend to battle it out against the Bullets.
Luckily it's come at a time in our schedule where there aren't too many games and able to play and then kind of hit the reset button for a week and recover and reset and able to enjoy some home time.
We're going to be on point with our personnel coverage. We don't know what they're going to do. We'll see them tonight and see if they do anything against Perth, but we're going to be on point with Johnson, Sobey, Baines, Kadee, all these guys that can really hurt you on any given night.
Players have been working on tidying up their tactics after a gritty win over Melbourne last week. To hockey, Tasmania's Jack Welch hit the scoreboard for the Kookaburras. Welch broke through against India in their 25th minute, dragging the scoreline to an even keel.
Turned in by Welch. They were banging on the door, India not wanting to let them in. And in the end, they just kick it down.
But India walked away with a 4-3 win. 2 games remain in the 5-match series. It almost seemed inevitable that the inevitable would storm home to win last night's Newmarket handicap. At short odds and in hot form, Scott Brunton's Galloper cranked up to top speed on the straight at Mowbray.
About to come after it, then Julius. Here's the inevitable flashing down the outside. Oh, the little champ's going to do them. First accused hit the front, but on the outside, the inevitable dashed past and won brilliantly. Oh, gee, how good is he?
The inevitable will go to the Conquering Stakes next, and Brunton even plans to take him to Dubai next year. Brunton last won the Newmarket handicap with Hell of a Street in 2016.
Good evening. Launceston's 22 topped the list today. Hobart registered 18 degrees, Burnie 20 and Devonport 19. We still need a kick in those temperatures though, with most below average. Low Head and Bushy Park 19. Friendly Beaches along with King and Flinders Island 17. St Helens, Grove and Strawn all 16. Clear skies over the northwest of the state today. A bit of cloud moving over most of the rest of Tasmania. Low level cloud also over southern Victoria, eastern New South Wales and Queensland. The tropical activity continues further north. Tomorrow a high moves our way. The low near Queensland moves to the east. East northeasterly winds at 5 to 15 knots, but stronger north-northeasterlies over the east coast for tomorrow. And for Hobart, a partly cloudy 21. 23 the top for Huonville, bit of cloud for Campania, fine though on 23. Launceston a top tomorrow of 22, 10 overnight, a cloudy day, 18 for Devonport, partly cloudy for Georgetown and 21 degrees. Burnie 17 tomorrow and cloudy, bit of cloud over Strawn 19 and Wynyard 18 degrees. St Helens tomorrow a top of 19, Swansea 20 and 19 the high for Port Arthur. UV hits the extreme range tomorrow, reaching 11. Fine and mostly sunny conditions on Saturday, Swansea and Hobart 25, a fine day on Sunday ahead of a late shower over the south, Launceston hitting 29, and on Monday showers and possible thunderstorms with east to southeasterly winds. Sunny and 27 in Perth, a warm day in Adelaide, a bit of cloud and 23 in Melbourne and also Sydney. Brisbane 23 as well, but with a shower or two. Cooling down a tad in Hobart, it's currently 12 degrees, 16 in Launceston and 15 right now in Devonport. And that's the way it's been for the first day of summer, Kimberly Louise.
Thank you, Murph. And that wraps up your news. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. You stumped me. Good night.